All right, I'm here today with Mark Upton, the coaching science manager from the EIS, formerly working in Aussie Rules football in Australia. Thank you for joining us again.
Look forward to another chat, Brian.
All right, great. Today I wanted to talk just briefly on contextual interference. We get a better understanding of what exactly it is and how we can use it to improve our practices.
Yeah, so I think last time we spoke about random and blocked and constant and variable practice, and contextual interference really it just probably captures that all together on a scale, so it really is how much variability is involved from rep to rep. Hence the context changing from time to time, so potentially interfering with the skill, but that interference again being probably more beneficial for learning and retention of that skill. So less contextual interference again would be that block practice with some variability. So the context is changing a bit. We talked about either being closer or further away from a target. Then up to things like random practice where you're practicing a range of different skills, maybe more in a game-like environment for team sports, has a higher level again of the context is changing more significantly time to time. And then probably another proposed theory around this is something called differential learning from someone called Schollhorn, where you deliberately are trying to actually induce a lot of contextual interference from repetition to repetition, actually never let someone repeat the skill or the movement, actually more specifically the same way twice, and are actually constraining the activity so you get quite extreme and sometimes unnatural movements. So that would be probably the broadest range of contextual interference you could find.
Okay, and is there a reason again why contextual interference appears to improve long-term learning but not short-term performance? So typically in a situation of random and variable practice, we'll see decreased immediate performance in the
Mm-hmm.
moment,
Mm-hmm.
during a practice session, let's say, but increased long-term learning.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason for that? Are there theories that support the contextual interference effect?
Yeah, I think, Brian, you might want to elaborate on this a bit as well. So one, I think, is now these two always slip my mind. One is the elaboration theory,
Right.
and I think the other is the action planning theory. But for me, I think the simplest way I try to think of it is it is a bit. So these are all sort of more related to information processing anyway, initially, if you like, or the schema type theories, which is sort of a bit like how a computer works and a computer program. So it's sort of like if we just load in the program once and then we're just repeating it every time is not really demanding much of us. We're sort of on autopilot, which actually isn't a good thing for learning. Whereas if the context continually changes each time, we're having to, if you like, perceive the situation, take in that information, at the same time in integrated ways in plan and control the movement. So each time it's subtly different. So it's more intensive. So from that perceptual cognitive point of view as well, it's really just more intensive type of practice, which is, obviously shown to be more beneficial for learning.
Right. I've always used free throws, as the example for this. So, if you go out and you shoot 100 free throws in a row, and you're doing it, just one after another, no time or task in between, really you're only shooting that free throw once. You're only having
Yeah.
to, again, using the kind of the information processing model, you're only
Yeah.
having to draw that motor program out from your long-term memory once,
Yeah.
and then you're just repeating that task over and over.
Yeah.
Whereas, so you think you're practicing 100 times, but really you're practicing that whole process of drawing from the memory and putting that motor program together. Really, you're only doing that once, because it would stay in your working memory or short-term memory, from repetition to
Right.
repetition. Whereas if you
Yeah.
switch distances or do something in between shots like you would during a game where you're only going to shoot one or two free throws at a time, and then you're going to go back on defense, have to get the
Yeah.
ball back, get fouled, etc. So each time in a game you're going to have to draw that motor program out from your long-term memory and shoot each shot essentially as its individual shot. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I've always described, the theories behind the contextual interference.
Yeah.
Again, using the more traditional information processing
Yeah.
background.
Exactly. Exactly. And guys like Keith Davids, who, if we talk about ecological dynamics a bit down the track, he would talk a lot about practicing to adapt, not practicing to repeat. Actually, you don't really want to be on autopilot. If you're on autopilot and just repeating,
Right.
and the context is going to change in the game, that's actually a really dangerous thing. You always want to be tuned in, and hence you're constantly adapting to the situation. So he talks about practicing to adapt rather than practicing to repeat something.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks once again.
Pleasure.